What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your creative unconscious reading for September 17th. We are going to hop right on in. The message that kept coming through last night, really strong. I was kind of lucid, just laying there falling asleep and thinking about the reading today. And what kept coming to mind was the words, "You are a good thing." And just the impossibility, the improbability of everything happening in life to get us to this point right now where we are. And just the improbability of the collision of molecules and atoms and all of the things that that might otherwise make this that otherwise might make this seem like such a ridiculous thing, even on the hard days, right? It's still miraculous in a way. So that was kind of what's coming through, but loudly though, you are a good thing. So we're going to hop in and see where this takes us today. Spirit, what messages do you have from a creative unconscious collective for Saturday, September 17th, please? Outer core and fluidity. So I'll hold that up. Home and earth. And we also have light and the sun. So I almost get a little bit that there's like possibly, I don't want to say fixed energy for sure, but I mean, that's what's coming through. Like there's like something that's fixed, and it's not necessarily, it might be a fixed sign, but it's like there's a need to be a little bit more fluid, because even the way the light is expressing here, it's expressing in almost this like fluid way, like this flowing way. So it's almost, it could be there are a lot of changes taking place too, right? Like it could be a lot of change in how you understand yourself at home. And this is the thing though, like if you really take in, you are a good thing and you love yourself first, there's not much that you can't do, but it's almost like this change. And what I'm seeing here is like islands being born, right? Because when molten lava meets water, it obviously steam, but then it's the creation of this island, right? And can create islands. So it's almost like when you change your idea of home, when you change your idea of being at home within yourself, there's something else that shifts too. So we're going to dive in and see where this takes us today. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective? But first here, do you want to clear the deck, baby girl? Thank you. And it's just like, I think too, like understanding what home means in the context of what could also be healing, like this with the water, like I'm seeing like a baptism. So it's almost like the way that home might be shifting for you, like how you understand home. And I don't know, it's not like the physical space, it's the internal recognition of what that means and what you've wanted it to mean as well. 333 on the time. Okay, so 3 of Wands, the Moon. Yeah, I feel like you're planning, and I feel like it's almost like you have to embrace the unknown a little bit, embracing the unknown. And interestingly, it's like the 3 of Pentacles is showing up as a foundation, right? And it's like a foundation built on, typically, it's not a bad card. It just kind of is, as with all tarot cards in the deck. But I feel like it's showing up here in terms of foundation. Like there's a way that you're rebuilding your concept of home, right? There's a way you're rebuilding it, and it's changing at least. So it could mean that there's, this can represent collaborations and releasing collaborations, but I feel like this is also perhaps prioritizing feedback from other people where you need to be, but this is also showing up as sort of like a tutelage and education as well. So in this particular iteration of it, but what I see here more than that is it's almost like allowing yourself to shine, like allowing you to be a priority for you. It's like pulling back from the context of education, perhaps pulling back from the context of collaboration, maybe breaking out and doing something on your own. Like this is what you're releasing, right? So perhaps it is a call to move to be further part of the group. I feel though like you're in a place where you're anticipating the good. There's things that are coming through. You're aware more than not. And it's like it's almost like there's energies though that you can't see. Like the moon here is representing things you can't see, but it's also maybe things you don't want to see. We'll clarify more, but there's I'm getting that there's like because your back is kind of turned to the how things are unfolding, right? Like your back is a bit turned with where you are. And it could be that you're reflecting on a process that's already happened, in which case we'll clarify again. The way the light gets in is through the Five of Wands. And I think this is lessons learned from conflict, perhaps unnecessary conflict, given the fact that this releasing this idea of collaboration, releasing this idea of perhaps group mentality and group think as a foundation. Could be some codependence where you're prioritizing other people over what you know to be true for yourself. And, you know, again, the moon also represents intuition. And I feel like when I see water like this, that to me also represents intuition. So I feel like it's like prioritizing what you know as opposed to what you're told or what you know, like there's prioritizing what you know. I love when the deck does this. But it's like you're prioritizing something that is unseen, right? And that might be uncomfortable for some people. You might get people calling you like a little out there, whatever. But it's like when you're led by that depth. And it's interesting too that, you know, people write about intuition and women's intuition in particular, to us LGBTQ plus people in intuition. You know, a lot of equity seeking groups have had to rely on intuition because the path was never very clear nor easy. So, and that's not to say that intuition is a compensatory reflex. It's just saying that there's a thick intuition that we've had to rely on a lot of the time. But a lot of books that talk about it only go so far. Like they stop at a specific kind of knowing so that when it goes into another realm, it's just sort of like a whole other thing. Like it goes, you know, books about it go into a whole other section. But it's almost like there's something that you're relying on more. And I think that might be embracing this thing, like what you know that is unknown, right? So let's see where this takes us. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective? And this is within the context, too, of like the improbabilities and remembering that you are a good thing, right? You are a good thing. You're a great thing. But it's sometimes we can not listen to our intuition if we believe that we need feedback about it. If we need, you know, and this can kind of go into the realm of validation. This can kind of go into the realm of seeking answers that we don't need, but that feel good because it validates things. So it sort of soothes this conflict that we feel about what we know, right? I've explained it before. I've just started reading. I just started reading this book finally, but I had this weird situation came up where I was like, I felt like I really, you know, missed out on an opportunity. And then within days of that happening, this book fell off the shelf at work, right? All Signs Point to Paris, a memoir of love, loss, and destiny. And so it's stuff like that. And it's like August 10th, I think, or 11th, around there, early August. But it's like when things like that happen, you know, we call it synchronicity, we call it whatever, but that's your higher self orchestrating events to speak back to you. So it's like learning to listen to you and regarding yourself as an authority in your life, rather than, you know, just defaulting to awareness alone, right? Because then it's like, yes, it's like you become your own authority. You become your own, you know, established source of information for yourself, right? That's where this Three of Pentacles transitions into a 10, because it's not just about building a foundation. It's about understanding the big picture of the foundation that you're working with and on. I'm going to put those here. I can't make this up. Three of Wands was underneath that. Okay, so I'm just going to take these here. And the Ace of Cups too. Wow. Okay, so this is really great. I think this could be to do with love, but I think this is, I'm going to just pull back for a second here. I think that you are manifesting, and you have to remember which, like, how you're manifesting, right? What are you facing? What are you seeking here? How are you taking the energies at play and what resources you have and creating from that place, right? I almost feel like this is like what the magician would look like when the manifestation is out in the world and the magician, you are waiting for it to come back, the manifestations to come back, your ships to come in. I feel like you've planted seeds for a 10 of Pentacles, and maybe this is part of where you're anticipating a 3 and you need to anticipate way more. 1010 was just on the time. Which is 10 of Pentacles too. So it's like you have to, it's almost like you need to anticipate, maybe dream a little bigger. Like you might be thinking in terms of a 3 of Pentacles. Oh, it would be nice to just have a working relationship. It would be nice to have that. But like, what about your 10 of Pentacles, your legacy? This is like a marriage card if it's a relationship, if it's work or creative project related. What about the bigger picture that you're part of in the long term? Like, don't just think about like, I would like these 5 things to happen this year. Think about like 5 and 10 years. Dream bigger, even if it feels uncomfortable. Allow yourself to stretch yourself, right? Stretch yourself such that what isn't seen is something that you can allow to lead you when your intuition is at play. And this is where it's like trusting yourself as well. It's like learning to trust yourself differently, I think, than perhaps you have been. Yeah. I feel like maybe this is where you've trusted yourself because you're like, well, it's hard, so I know that it means this. But what about it's hard, so I know that it means this, 5 of Pentacles. But what about the fulfillment? Wow. 9 of Cups and the Star. What about when it comes from hope? What about when it comes from fulfillment? What about when it comes from a full cup, right? So it's like reorienting yourself and remembering this is like the ultimate, like you are a good thing. What if you didn't have anything to prove? What if you didn't have to, go the extra mile, not to show someone that you care, but to show that you're worthy of them caring back instead of just believing that, you have to prove yourself because you don't, right? You don't. You don't. And so clarifying the 3 of Pentacles, we have the 3 of Cups and the 2 of Wands. Interesting. A lot of 3s. I'm just going to grab a sip of my coffee. 3 of Cups and the 2 of Wands. There could be an event or a gathering of people that kind of starts to demonstrate this to you, or it shows you in some way. And it helps you to see things just a little bit clearer. This could be related to travel, so it could be something you're traveling to. Perhaps like it could be, I'm seeing this as like an educational event, a teaching event. I know that there's a lot of those happening right now, so it could be that, where it's sort of just like, it helps you to release this energy of needing to get feedback, and not feedback in terms of like, show me that this is good, or, those types of things. This is the kind of feedback that says, you know what, I know I need to prioritize celebratory gathering instead of going to events with the anticipation or expectation or meeting with other people under the auspices of this is going to it's almost like there's 2 different kinds. Like, this is where you show up whole and complete. This is where you go on a fact-finding mission to either prove or disprove your worth. And I feel like that's the core difference. That's like the healing that's taking place. Yeah, because they're different kinds of foundation building, right? They're different kinds of way that you make a home for yourself within yourself. So one is like looking for feedback and taking in that feedback, but you get feedback in a celebratory capacity as well. This isn't in isolation, right? Like, there's different kinds of feedback, and one is perhaps if you assumed that things had to be hard, or they were, like, this is where sometimes we get into, this strikes me also as like survival mode, right? Like, we get into places where we're in survival mode, no matter how insignificant or small, but if specific things happen, and I feel like this is true of the pandemic, right? For a lot of people, where we got into collective survival mode, where it was like, we just need these number of things. And it sort of reoriented priorities for a lot of people from conversations that I've had and whatnot. But it's almost like shifting your priorities to something that's far more fulfilling. And I know, I think about my own transition, and like, I don't know that I would have, if I didn't have the pandemic. and being in just alone with myself for that long, right? Because it meant that I couldn't, 444 was just on the time in 1444. Because it meant that I couldn't escape me, right? I couldn't escape me. And that sounds kind of silly at the outset, but it means that the ways that I needed to show up in my life, in terms of transitioning and otherwise, it's like they became inescapable truths. In Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, I talk about it all the freaking time because I love that book so much. It was one of the big things that helped me transition. And it's like when you get honest with yourself and you get into a habit 15-15 on the time of radical honesty, right? Radical honesty, not the kind that undercuts or that requires you be embarrassed to reveal itself. Your truth doesn't need you to feel shame. If you feel shame, that's something independent of the truth, because the truth will always lead back to the star, to the things like the Magician, to the 10 of Pentacles, when it's coming from a place of supportive, and this is like supportive authenticity and sincerity from within you, because then that becomes something that is like a guiding light for you, right? That becomes a guide for you, as opposed to feeling like it has to be something else or something different. And that's where I think this shift could be taking place as well, because even if it's within yourself, right? It's like there's a celebratory way that you can get information and feedback and take it in and tweak things and make changes that isn't based on this isn't showing up necessarily as a 3 of Pentacles in terms of collaboration or learning. It's starting to show up, as I dig into this energy, as more of like looking for outside feedback as opposed to just showing up to celebrate. And yes, there's a work that we have to put into things. That's not I'm not negating that. It's the kind of work though. And it's like how you show up in like a lighthearted way. This is like an invitation for you. An invitation could be an invitation somewhere, especially with the travel here, but it's like an invitation to show up in a more lighthearted way, because why not? Why not? Especially if things have been exceptionally heavy with the 10 of Wands and the 5 of Pentacles. It's like it's safe for it to just be lighthearted. Right? It doesn't have to be so serious. Yeah. And that's like the 2 of Cups is showing up here, and so serious, the Hierophant. I think of the Hierophant in a more serious energy because of its institutional associations, and also the way that it tends to represent more traditional spiritual knowledge. I know it's Taurian energy, and that's not to say that Taurians are like that, so serious. I know some Taurians, they're hilarious and very fun-loving, and so it's not at all about that. For me, it's just showing up in terms of the tradition sense, right? Like, what is, like, how have you anchored your, I guess, like your concepts of home, but then also your emotional responses to that with the 3 of Cups, like your emotional world, right? And the bringing together of those two things, like, and these are small ideas that I feel like are becoming or have the potential to become something so much bigger, because you're manifesting something bigger with this 10 of Pentacles, and the 3 of Pentacles came out over here too. So I feel like there's like a depth here that is, it's like warranting a second look, or third, I'm not sure. We have the Wheel, yeah. Sorry if that was loud in your ear. The Wheel and Judgment. So I feel like there's some aspects of destiny. Again, can't see it though. This is where you need to be led very much by intuition. But there's fated changes happening here. And I don't like the idea necessarily of leaving fate in other people's hands, because then it's like, it's disempowering, where it's like you have to take up your own fate. This could be about relationships, but I feel like this is decisions that you're making that are either leading you towards a 2 of Cups, if that represents a relationship to you, or if that represents a way of working with projects, or a way of showing up for your own passions, right? And being responsive to them, letting them move you deeply. Be it, if you, I'm a writer, so I love, obviously writing and poetry and photography and videography, all of that stuff. So it's like those are passions of mine. So it's like showing up for those, and tarot, obviously. But it's like showing up for those things fully and letting them move you deeply, as opposed to saying it's just something that I like. I like this a lot. It's nice. It's like, is it nice, or is it like, how deeply are you letting yourself be taken by it, and not taken in a way like it's just it's a hobby, right? It's a passion. It's something that you might want to turn into something more in terms of a business. But it's like, how deeply are you allowing yourself to be affected by that? Because that also demonstrates how deeply you're willing to allow yourself to be affected by relationships too, right? So it's like, are you kind of standing on the outskirts? Are you feeling like you need more information? Like you're always ever the learner, right? But how deeply are you allowing yourself to fall into that? Spirit, can you tell me more about this Five of Wands? The Queen of Pentacles, yeah. Could have been competing priorities, like you kind of felt this like push-pull internally, because I mean the Queen of Pentacles is well resourced, yes, but then there's also priorities. There's like a prioritization that's happening in here, and I feel a lot like there's like, it's knowing how to take care of yourself and others, but that first starts with, you know, you are a good thing. And I think that the inclination may be to feel like you have this Four of Pentacles where you need to hang on to a lot, but the call is to remember that you have the Queen of Pentacles here showing you that you have so much more to give. You have so much more to give. And it doesn't need to be like, if you believe that giving has this competitive edge to it, or like, and a competitive edge just meaning like I'm seeing this as almost like quid pro quo, like there's, or like caveats with giving, like you can't just receive. You have to be very cautious because the giving was always coming from places where people were looking out for them first, and that was just part of the way that, and honestly it's a lot of the way that we are trained in the culture that we live in to think of, you know, ourselves like it's like a me first world, right? And that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. And it could be like some of the very loud Libra in my chart talking in terms of my South Node and things like that. But, well, and otherwise, but I think this is like, I think this is saying that it's not just about diplomacy, but it's about seeing a different way of doing things. That 2121 was just on the time. It doesn't necessarily deprioritize you, but I think that it's like understanding that if people did that, it doesn't mean that you have to see your value as somehow less than because of the choices that they made, right? Because of the choices that they made. And this goes with withholding too. Like if people withheld, and it doesn't, it's like a different way of receiving, I think. Because I think when you understand how you show up in the world and you feel more at home within yourself, there's a way that life acquiesces to that. You're not making a request, but the energy is shifting and it's realigning things so that you can receive so much differently. It's aligning so you can receive differently. Yeah, and I think that's like, I just heard, that's the hot take. So it could be the light here, right? Like the sun, this could be to do with the sun sign, it could be Pisces or Neptune aspected, 2-2 on the time. But this is where I feel like there's like, it's like the hot take, like there's a bigger picture that you're seeing or that you're capable of seeing or willing to see now, right? Like it could be something along those lines. And it's like, I feel like there's like this overflow where you might have withheld before. Yeah, you might have withheld before, but you are understanding how that didn't really work for you. And this is where you're kind of taking charge and doing the transformative thing and making something more balanced, be it for yourself or other people. That's Scorpio energy as well. In terms of signs so far, we have Pisces, Aquarius, some Gemini. We also have Pluto, Jupiter, and Neptune and Pisces. Could be to do, I think it was the Pisces full moon. No, Pisces new moon, sorry. One of them. Oh my gosh, my brain. I'm going to take a little more coffee. The Pisces moon we just had, this could have been a process that you understood more fully or saw within yourself more fully. And I feel like it's kind of like, I'm hearing the word enervate, like ENNERVATE, enervate. Like there's something about it, the way it's shifting your energy. It's like water fire. Like there's like this water fire balance. Like your emotions are coming back into balance, and it's helping you to harness your fire in a way that it almost frees you. Like it frees you to be like, there's this, I want to say fearlessness, but I feel like it's a little bit more like it goes beyond just like, oh, I'm fearless. It's like there's something foundational here about that fearlessness that's going to carry you into another phase. And I feel like that's what's helping this cycle end, Scorpio energy. So death is showing up again. Yeah, it's like you're showing up and moving into a new phase. Look at this. The Chariot, 7 of Wands, 10 of Cups. You're moving into a new phase. Yeah. And that's, I'm getting this so strongly. Like, it's like moving forward emotionally because there's this like emotional inflection. And like, isn't that what home is though? Like home, I go back to this shifting, like embodied home, right? Because I think about earth, and when I think about earth, it's like this beautiful embodiment energy that's coming through right now, right? That's where the sensuality comes from. That's the embodied discernment and the understanding of, like this intuitive processual leaning that is so characteristic of earth signs and the way that intuition comes through them. And I feel like that's what is very true and coming through here. Like, it's just this embodiment. And this could be to do with like self-confidence, self-esteem, that kind of thing. And like, it's interesting because we'll reach different points where where we're like, I'm good. And then spirit's like, yeah, here's another one. And that's just, it's like learning to love the process and the way that, love unfolds for ourselves. Right. Even when it's like messy, and even when we don't understand it, and even when it's just, it doesn't feel great. Like, it's like making something right within you so that when you show up in the world, it's not about making things right for other people. That can be a thing as well, but this is showing up more as this transformation. And I think an embodied recognition. And I think that's what the Pentacles, it's such a strong energy here, like as embodiment. The Pentacles are showing up as an embodiment. Like, this is like foundational embodiment, and it's so curious and quite interesting. Thank you for that, Spirit, that this is showing up as like the body, like it has to do with the body. And for trans folks that has a different meaning, because like my existence in a way is so embodied that it's just, yeah, I mean, everyone's is, but it's just different. And I'm getting though that here, it's less about identity like that and more about a shifting fate. Like, there's something that's fated for you to either understand or come across, and it's like it's clearing the slate. Like, it's almost like I'm seeing this could have been to do with like past life stuff that you were carrying into this life, and it's like you couldn't quite understand what was going on, and that's where it's like you had to embrace the unknown, because that in turn was going to help you embrace yourself, so that instead of steering by moonlight, or being led by moonlight, you're able to be guided by something more substantial and firm for yourself, right? It's like a long, I heard like the long take. It's like a long take thriving, as opposed to just like quick wins or things like that. Yeah, it's like a lot more imbalanced, in balance, I should say, moving from imbalance to in balance. And that's the key too, right? We saw the 6 of Pentacles on one of the splits, and I feel like this Cancerian energy is this, it's just so, it's quite lovely, because it's like your heart is being moved by something differently now. And that's where this transformation is taking place, right? There's a depth of emotion here because we have Pisces, Cancer, or Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. So all the water signs are here towards the end, which it's almost like maybe this shift, like there's like the fire here and then we have the water up here, right? So it could be this like, it's Scorpio season, could be loud. That could also be a loud energy in your chart. But the way that it's showing up here for me is that there's something deeply affecting about your emotions and embodiment now. That it's like it's not that you want to escape it, but it's like you can't escape it anymore. And it's like, instead of doing that, because this can be escapist energy, but when paired with its, elemental cousins, or siblings or whatever, it's like you're going head first into the transformation, and that then is helping you move forward from a place of emotional intuition and connection that is kind of gonna move mountains and be more effective an effort, because it's coming from a higher place than just you alone trying to create boundary after boundary after boundary. Because there's a certain point where it's not that the boundaries are ineffective, but there's a process that needs to be heeded that is either is or is not being listened to. Okay, I'm just going to clarify using these cards here. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative collective, please? Messages from my creative collective. So we have the Ten of Wands again. Yeah, I think this is about ending cycles of strife and struggle. And I think this is moving past something definitively, like I'm hearing One Last Time by Ariana Grande. That's interesting. Um, I wouldn't recommend, putting yourself in situations where it's like you're doing something for one last time just to say goodbye. Like sometimes it's okay to just have it be done, right? Like don't do that. But I'm seeing like this idea of like that was the last time. Like there's a cycle that's ending, and it's leaning towards a different kind of 10, a 10 of Pentacles, where instead of this like super struggle, what you're reading now is more happiness into your future, right? It's a different way of foundation building. It's a different foundation building altogether. Yeah, High Priestess. And this is where it's like the depth of knowing it's probably going to feel surreal. Ace of Swords, that's definitely the truth. There's a surrealism. Could be art stuff that we're dealing with here. More death on the bottom. We have the Six of Cups, the Knight of Cups, and Death. More water energy, a lot of water energy here. So this is I think it's like, it's interesting that to me, the pentacles are coming across as embodiment, but then it's like shifting with this cup energy where it's like embodiment. It's like, it's almost helping to lead to a sense of intimacy within yourself, right? Like it's this intimacy within yourself because you're sinking into yourself and not running from that and what you find there, right? Because it's like, it's remembering that you are a good thing. How many times do we do things where we run away from our body or ourselves, even in like tiny moments? No one's perfect, right? No one's perfect. So we all have these habits and different things that can pull us out of ourselves. But this is about coming back into yourself and understanding that as a depth of intimacy. And I feel like that it's like, this Six of Cups is like this deeply rooted core, like this emotional outer core. Interesting fluidity and outer core here. A lot of water energy. Wada. It's like welcome to the pool. Welcome to the pool. Welcome to the water park. But this is also, I think this could be a way that you are transforming how you do relationships with the Knight of Cups here and the Death card and the Six of Cups. It's like how you do relationships on the one hand, but then also how you recognize soulmate energy therein. Like how you feel when it comes to soulmate energy. It's not how do I word this, Spirit? It's like it's how you feel, but the feeling is not just a feeling. It's a recognition of something so much more, where it doesn't need to be the whole thing because you're a good thing on your own and you're a whole thing. So you are then able to see what's going on around you with greater clarity. You're not looking for some like knight in shining armor because you understand that you're death, right? You understand that you are transformation. So it takes on a different meaning, because if you don't need, like, this isn't like you don't need rescue, you don't need to be saved, you don't need that stuff. So what this can show up then is more, a little bit more authentic, and it's something that can be a little bit more deeply rooted in terms of soulmate and soul bond energy. So it's just letting this transformation take root, though, letting that energy be a source of strength for you. Letting that energy be a source of strength for you. Three of Pentacles again. And that is the story of that foundation. That's it. 3-3-3-3 on the time. Damn. Thank you so much, Spirit. Wow. It's just like this energy is amazing. The Three of Pentacles showed up 3 times. Are you kidding me? In 3 different decks. So that's like, threes are big. So you could be seeing 3-3-3 or 3-3-3-3. But looking up that number, what threes do mean, can be quite helpful for this, is what I'm getting. Yeah, look at that. The Nine of Cups on the bottom, fulfillment. Again, clarifying this here. Yeah. Embodiment in that way can become sort of, it's like looking to the positive register of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Looking to the positive register of it instead of the negative. Instead of being like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have enough, blah, 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 all that stuff. You know, let yourself be moved by it when you have those moments, but don't stay there. don't let that become the moon that guides you, because you have the star available to you, which is a much more healing and positive energy, right? That's something that it guides you. It guides you to where you are able to empty and fill. And this watery energy represents a depth of psychic connection. I just feel like there's so much more available to you. And there's a truth here about that. It's like that your intuition is revealing truths to you that are really important. And I feel like you need to, oh, my back is like really cold all of a sudden. Yeah. So, yeah, allowing that to be what's true for you. Okay. Yeah. There's just different energies trying to come through. Sometimes it happens when I do readings where I'll pick up on things. Like I saw an easy chair and slippers, and like a pipe, and I don't know anyone that does that, and that's where sometimes it just kind of pops through in terms of energies when I'm doing a reading. So that's for whoever that's for. But it's like relative energy, like ancestor, that kind of idea. Yeah. So, my darlings, let me pull a chakra card here. Let's just see some of the energies that we're working with here. Spirit, what messages do you have? What energies can we work with for this Creative Unconscious reading, please? Energies to work with. Communication. And I feel like that's like when it's striking me as water energy, which is just interesting because it's like being moved and then talking about it or then doing something about it, right? And it's like, the mountain is something that cannot be moved, but I feel like you are showing up in the death card twice here, this transformation energy. I feel like that's what this initial thematic thing was. Like when you realize that you're a good thing, then what happens? Then what do you do with that, right? So communication. I communicate with others in healthy and meaningful ways. My communications are constructive, honest, and purposeful. I communicate with respect, positive regard, and an intention of growth for all. I collaborate and cooperate. Isn't this so interesting with the Three of Pentacles? I feel like it's almost like pulling back from collaboration, seeing what it meant to you, embodied differently for yourself, and then returning to it. And it's like so much stronger. I feel like this is such beautiful imagery and quite evocative. Like it's like there's something so much stronger about this energy in you and for you. Let me do one more here. Spirit, what additional messages do you have for my creative collective, please? Healing. And that is the third eye, sorry. Healing. I see clearly how to bring harmony to pain, discomfort, and issues of separation, and so I am healed. What just came through while I said that was that embodiment is like a healing of separation within yourself, right? Embodiment is a healing of separation. So in a way, the pentacle energy of embodiment it's also a sensuality, but more than that, it's like where you may feel separate from, like you may be looking at love in terms of together or not, or have your dreams in terms of having it or not. And I think maybe there's something about embodiment here and healing that relationship to self that is then going to allow you to just come together differently or work differently, right? So I transcend the illusion of duality, seeing beyond the veil of divisive thoughts and behaviors. I offer with confidence and integrity my visions for a brighter, more harmonious future. I am harmonious. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? And I think the Three of Pentacles too in this energy, it's like it can come across as like third party stuff, especially with the triangles here in terms of Cartman's drama triangle, right? I think Martha Beck wrote about it in her book Integrity, which was an excellent book, by the way. I highly recommend it. And it's like third parties just in the sense that when you place something outside of yourself, right? A lot of people think like that's a cheater. And it's like that's the most direct and in some ways I feel like the easiest interpretation of that energy, right? Third parties are basically where you take something that you are interested in or dealing with and you put something between it so that there's this third energy that is birthed, but not in the sense of sacred relationships. It's almost like that coping mechanism to deal with that. So it's like stepping aside from that and it's healing that energy where embodiment is like it's showing up as a pathway forward. It's showing up as a pathway forward. Yeah. And it's like allowing yourself the time to heal too. Like, it's like if you feel, I'm using an example for myself, but it's like if you feel like you missed an opportunity about something or with someone, it's like allow yourself to heal that feeling first before jumping into anything else, because you're going to carry the missed opportunity energy with you. So that's going to be deleterious to progress and moving forward. So in a way, it's not going to be helpful or productive, right? You're just, it's going to repeat. So it's almost like this clearing of things as well. And when I say missed opportunities, I just mean where, it's like there's energies of, it's like looking at things from the past, like looking at it through hindsight and like, oh, I wish I could have done that differently. Well, you can't, because if you're looking forward, that's the direction you have to go in. So take that lesson in, yes, heal it, transmute it, alchemize it, do that. Yes, absolutely. But then what? Then where do we go from there, right? So it's like looking at things from two different perspectives, like this forward facing in this 10 of Pentacles and this 5 of Pentacles, 10 of Wands way, right? Where it's like there's two different directions you can face things. And that's like indicative of the core beliefs that you have that make up that foundation. But this is really a call to sink into your body and to be very embodied and deeply rooted, as it were. So this could be some grounding work to do, but it's like it's showing up in this. But your intuition's at the core. So there's something that you're allowing yourself, or need to allow yourself, to be led through and into and with, right, alongside, as it were. So it's just allowing that energy to flow and understanding that with the wheel here and judgment, it's like, this tells me so strongly that we live in a world of FOMO, where it's like you have to make a decision yesterday in order to get things done. But sometimes you need to understand that what's meant for you isn't going to pass you by. It doesn't matter how fast life goes. What's meant for you will show up on the path. Thinking anything else or believing anything that someone might tell you otherwise, it's not about like clinging to abundance and saying that's going to find me. It's because like, your life is going to change so many different times, and you are going to change so many different times. But what's truly meant for you can't pass you by. It just can't. So it's like allowing yourself the freedom to take this process up. Don't delay things and use that as an excuse to not take action, but taking inspired action for one on the time, you will never go wrong. And that's what I think this is a call to do, is to trust in the inspired action, as opposed to feeling like you have to do everything backwards, forwards, sideways, upside down in order to get something, because it will flow to you. That's where this water energy and death is, this transformation is coming from, where it's like you can't allow that energy to be what holds you back, because there's a moving towards here. There's an embrace, but that embrace is water energy. That's the chariot. That's the embrace. So how are you embracing, right? I think no matter what happens in this energy and with this energy, the biggest energy that you need to be in right now is embodied. Like, what is happening in your body, right? Not in terms of like, I feel indigestion. It's not like that. It's like, what is happening in your body relative to your mind? Are you at peace internally, right? I know, having ADHD and stuff, it's like there's like this energy buzz sometimes, 4-2 on the time. But if you're in your body, how does it feel to be there, right? Some days are a little bit achier than others lately for me, for example, but it's like when you're in your body, there's this peace that comes to you because you don't need to be anywhere else. You don't need to be rushing towards something. You don't need to be completing something. You can be at peace where you are. And it's like the direction that comes from that, completely different. It's like a totally different energy. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives? Nope, that's wrong. My creative unconscious collective, please. Okay, all of it. Okay, that one. That's interesting. I am worthy of my own love. Ain't that an affirmation to end this off with? I'm worthy of my own love. Write a love note to yourself. What is it that you most need or want to hear? Right? What do you love about yourself? Write yourself that letter. Write yourself a love letter. What you love about yourself. That can be really healing too, and a way to sink into your body. What is it about your body that you love, right? I think about, just to use an example, like transitioning and stuff like that. Like I love the way my arms are starting to look, and I love the way that my, I call it testosterone because it's funner. It's funner. Oh my gosh. It's more fun than just saying testosterone because it sounds like a pasta. So testosterone. But being on that, it's like it's changing my body in a way that finally lines up with who I've been this whole time in my life, right? So I could write a love letter to all of the parts of me that were before testosterone and now are afterwards. And it's like doing something like that. And remembering there's a book that I recently read called You Are Not a Before Picture. And just remembering that too. Maybe that's going to be the title of this. You are not a before picture, an embodiment. So just remember that, my friends. You are worthy of your own love, and you're worthy of other people's 4444. And on that note, I will wrap this up here. But if this resonates, give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel, my friends, if you are not already. But if you are joining me and watching from that place, thank you so much. So as always, wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well, my friends. Take care.